Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to study about one of the most fascinating topic, that is synthetic embryos and ethical dilemmas. Like what is synthetic embryos and what are ethical dilemmas associated with it. So it is a very controversial topic of biotechnology. I am going to give a brief about it first. So see, scientists are now creating embryo-like structures in laboratories. Embryo, we all know, it is the stage where a zygote develops into a embryo, and then it becomes the fetus. जो baby जो होता है उसका एक developmental stage होता है. So now, which is created in the womb of the mother. Now scientists are now creating that embryo in the lab. Okay, not from sperm or egg, but entirely from stem cells. Okay, so ये जो tiny biological models होते हैं, they give us incredible insights early development के बारे में, diseases के बारे में, but कुछ ना कुछ इसके साथ ethical considerations definitely हैं, because it is one of the most controversial topic. So let's understand what it is, what synthetic embryos are, how are they made, why they matter, and what moral dilemmas they are bringing. Okay, before proceeding towards the video, please do like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. So let's get started. Let's understand what it is. Okay, so first and foremost, what are synthetic embryos? Synthetic embryos होते क्या हैं? So synthetic embryos को आप embryoids भी बोलते हो. It is the second name of this synthetic embryoids. तो ये लैब ग्रोन मॉडल्स होते हैं जहाँ लैबोरेटरीज में क्रिएट किए जाते हैं, लैब क्रिएटेड होते हैं, जो एकदम नेचुरल एम्ब्रियोज की तरह रिसेंबल करते हैं इन द स्ट्रक्चर, इन द फंक्शनिंग. तो उसके तरह रिसेंबलेंस होता है स्ट्रक्चर में. Now, what makes them revolutionary is that they are not formed through fertilization. There is no sperm or egg involved. Instead, they are made using pluripotent stem cells. So stem cells are again of various types. Pluripotent है और multipotent है, unipotent है. But ये जो है pluripotent stem cells की मदद से बनता है. Pluripotent cells special cells होते हैं जो कि कोई सा भी टाइप ऑफ सेल बना सकते हैं बॉडी का. सो दैट इज व्हाट प्लूरिपोटेंट इज. मल्टीपल सेल्स या कोई भी टाइप का सेल वो बना सकते हैं. तो उन सेल्स से एम्ब्रियो बनाया जाता है. These models mimic how real embryos develop in the first few weeks after fertilization. So after fertilization किस तरीके से natural embryo बनता है, like what is the process involved, how is the development proceeds with each week or each day or each month, वो इससे हम study कर सकते हैं. However, they don't have the full capacity to grow into a complete organism because they are lab made and there is no sperm or egg involved in the process. But at least not with the current technology, we do not have that capability to develop that embryo into a complete organism. But we can study various things which is difficult for the researchers to study when the embryo is in womb. So study of disease, because some disease are born with few genetic disorders, right? So how does that develop, how does the embryo develops, what happens, all of that thing can be studied. Now how are they created? So see, it starts with the pluripotent stem cells, as I told you. Pluripotent stem cells की मदद से ही वो बनाए जाते हैं. So pluripotent stem cells animals के भी हो सकते हैं, humans के भी हो सकते हैं, but pluripotent stem cells is the main requirement, a prerequisite requirement. Okay. Now scientists जो हैं वो इन cells को explore कर रहे हैं to understand the chemical signals, mimic the conditions found inside a womb. जो womb के अंदर जो conditions होती है उसको पूरा proper mimic करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, provide करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, and understand करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं that how a particular embryo develops into a diseased embryo from a natural kind of embryo, right? How does that happen? how does a embryo develops into a complete organism. Of course, we here the embryo is not going to be transformed into a complete individual, but then certain conditions or certain procedures or steps can be understood with this technology. So अंडर दीज सिग्नल्स, ये जो सिग्नल्स होते हैं स्टेम सेल्स जो होते हैं वो अपने आप को सेल्फ ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं. सो अंडर दीज सिग्नल्स, ये जो केमिकल सिग्नल्स हम प्रोवाइड करते हैं, बिकॉज ऑफ होम कंडीशंस को कहीं ना कहीं मिमिक करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन टू गिव इट प्रॉपर कंडीशंस एंड सराउंडिंग टू डेवलप द एम्ब्रियो, फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ एम्ब्रियो. जब ये सिग्नल्स एम्ब्रियो को मिलते हैं, स्टेम सेल्स अपने आप को सेल्फ ऑर्गेनाइज करने लगते हैं 3D स्ट्रक्चर्स में, जो कि एकदम रियल एम्ब्रियोज की तरह दिखते हैं. वो लेयर्स बनाते हैं, कैविटीज बनाते हैं, प्रिमिटिव टिश्यूज जैसे स्ट्रक्चर बनाते हैं, फिर प्लेसेंटा भी निकलता है जैसे स्ट्रक्चर, प्लेसेंटा लाइक स्ट्रक्चर बनता है, अर्ली ब्रेन बनता है, हार्ट सेल्स बनते हैं. तो प्रॉपर जो एम्ब्रियोनिक स्टेज पे जो चीज़ें डेवलप हो जाती है, जो ऑर्गन्स डेवलप हो जाते हैं, वो चीज़ वहाँ पर हमें दिखती है. So, we can say it's like nature's own blueprint, recreated by science inside a petri dish. Okay, in a simple layman language, I would say. Now, what is the scientific importance of these synthetic embryos? So, see, synthetic embryos are more than just a scientific curiosity, of course, because it can be very useful and beneficial for science and for us human beings, for animals as well, because if we can excel the thing, if we can excel the process, we can definitely reduce the chances of early development of any disease. So they are incredibly powerful research tool. They also help scientists in studying early embryonic development. Embryonic development को समझने में help करते हैं. So early embryonic development is a stage that's nearly impossible to observe in humans for ethical reasons. Definitely, because that is inside the womb of the mother, so it is not possible to study. So वो चीज़ अर्ली एम्ब्रियोनिक डेवलपमेंट में स्टडी करने में हेल्प मिल रही है. रिसर्चर्स जो हैं मिसकैरेजेस क्यों होते हैं, व्हाट इज द रीजन बिहाइंड, बर्थ डिफेक्ट्स क्यों होते हैं, जीन्स किस तरीके से ऑर्गन्स का डेवलपमेंट कंट्रोल करते हैं, हाउ आर सेवरल ऑर्गन्स आर डिफेक्टिव एट द टाइम ऑफ बर्थ इन पर्टिकुलर नंबर ऑफ केसेस. तो वो क्यों होता है, वो सब चीज़ें समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं और समझ पा रहे हैं. And perhaps most importantly, they reduce our dependence on real human or animal embryos for research. Definitely, because we have this lab made embryos, जिसकी वजह से हमें real human embryo या animal embryo पर research करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. So they are offering an ethical alternative to some of the most sensitive experiments in biology. Okay. Now, what are the major breakthroughs in the technique? So let's look at some landmark achievements. So in 2020, there was this one study where in 2022, researchers from the University of Cambridge and Caltech, so they created mouse synthetic embryos lab में बनाए with beating hearts and the beginnings of brain tissue, which helped them study so many things about animal embryos or the development. And then in 2023, scientists at Weizmann Institute in Israel made a stunning, developed, advanced synthetic human embryos that grew in the lab for 14 days, all without these genetic sperm, eggs, womb, इसके बिना. So these milestones proves us how far synthetic biology has come, and they also push us to rethink where we should draw the ethical line. Okay, so these are some of these studies, and there are many more. I have included few of them. What are the potential applications of synthetic embryos? So why are scientists so interested in synthetic embryos? क्यों इतना study किया जा रहा है या research किया जा रहा है on this particular topic? So see, because they open up an entirely new window into the earliest moments of life, of any life. वहाँ हम रिसर्च कर पा रहे हैं. So with them we can study how organs form, organs किस तरीके से बनते हैं, जेनेटिक म्यूटेशंस किस तरीके से डिजीज कॉज करते हैं, एंड किस तरीके से फर्टिलिटी ट्रीटमेंट को फर्दर इम्प्रूव किया जा सकता है. They can also serve as models for testing new drugs safely. Of course, new drugs को test कर सकते हैं real embryos use किए बिना. And in the future, insights from synthetic embryos might even contribute to organ regeneration and reproductive medicine. Okay. Now, what are the ethical and moral dilemmas? So there are definitely ethical considerations attached with this topic. So see, if a synthetic embryo looks, grows and behaves like a real one, does it deserve the same moral consideration? That is one of the biggest ethical dilemmas we are having. So as these models become more advanced, the boundary between a biological model and a potential life form begins to blur, because study in a real embryo and study in an embryo which is lab made definitely going to differ. If we go in the deep, so you'll understand, because there are, see, human body is very complex. Complexity is very vital and crucial for any research that is happening in terms of human life. Now, if you are studying the early moments of life in an embryo which is made in the lab, or which was created in the lab, it might or might not miss some of the things which a real embryo can provide, right? That's where it becomes a concern more than powerful research tool. There is also fear that this research could one day be misused, because definitely if it is going to be very advanced, it can be misused, right? क्लोनिंग के लिए मिसयूज हो सकता है, रिप्रोडक्टिव पर्पसेस के लिए मिसयूज हो सकता है, एम्ब्रियोज एक्सपेरिमेंट के लिए सोलरली क्रिएट किए जा सकते हैं, which can definitely cause mishappening with the technology. So all of these factors raises profound ethical questions. Are we studying life or are we creating it? Now, legal and policy changes. See, current legal landscape around synthetic embryos is just as complex, because ये technology अभी emerging है. Most countries have strict laws regulating natural human embryos. बहुत complex rules and regulations है around natural human embryos को create करने के लिए. But synthetic embryos don't fit neatly into these definitions. And for example, the famous 14-day rule limits how long a human embryo can be studied in the lab. कितने दिन आप स्टडी कर सकते हो एक ह्यूमन एम्ब्रियो को लैब में. Yet technically this rule might not apply to synthetic ones. एक natural real embryo को you can study up to these many number of days, but आप एक lab made embryo को कितने टाइम तक स्टडी कर सकते हैं. And there are strict laws regulating the research on human embryos, but synthetic embryos उसमें fit नहीं होते उन rules में. So that's why scientists and lawmakers are calling for new regulations. उन्हें new regulations, rules and regulations बनाने चाहिए, regulatory landscape improve करना चाहिए ताकि research का misuse ना हो सके. Rules that recognize these artificial life forms without stifling important research. Okay, so it is a race between scientific progress and ethical governance, which needs to be checked. Now, what are the religious and philosophical perspectives attached with this topic? So see, when it comes to ethics, religion and philosophy, when it comes to ethics, religions and philosophy always play a major role, because there are different faiths and they have different views about when truly life begins. At conception, at implantation, or with the start of consciousness, every faith has different say about it, right? Some religious scholars argue that creating embryo like life in a lab is like playing God, right? Because, of course, others says that if this research can prevent suffering and disease, it aligns with the moral duty to save lives. So everyone has different view about the technology. Philosophers also questions if these models ever gain complexity or consciousness. Should we treat them as life forms? So that is also one of the questions. So this debate forces us to confront the most fundamental question: what does it mean to be human? Okay. Now, future outlook attached to the topic. So looking ahead, the field of synthetic embryology is full of both promise and uncertainty. With proper oversight, this technology could transform reproductive medicine, improve IVF success rates, डेवलपमेंट अर्ली डेवलपमेंट ऑफ एम्ब्रियो को समझ सकते हैं, डिजीज की डेवलपमेंट को समझ सकते हैं और कहीं ना कहीं उसे रोक सकते हैं. लेकिन 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 क्लियर एथिकल बाउंड्रीज जरूरी है मिसयूज और डिस्ट्रस्ट को रोकने के लिए. सो द की टू प्रोग्रेस लाइज इन कोलैबोरेशन, साइंटिस्ट के बीच में, बायोएथिसिस्ट के बीच में, पॉलिसी मेकर्स के बीच में, पब्लिक के बीच में कोलैब होना जरूरी है टू इंश्योर साइंस सर्व्स ह्यूमैनिटी, नॉट द अदर वे राउंड. ओके, नाउ कंक्लूजन. सो टू रैप अप, synthetic embryos represent one of the most exciting scientific developments of our time. They could, अगर हम ढंग से मिसयूज ना करें और ढंग से यूज करें, so they could unlock answers to questions we have been asking for centuries. जो हम questions हमारे थे कि लाइफ किस तरीके से चालू होती है, कैसे डेवलप होती है, अगर कुछ रॉन्ग हो जाता है तो हाउ लाइफ केटर्स विद दैट थिंग, तो क्या होता है, हाउ इट समटाइम्स गोज रॉन्ग, वो सब स्टडी हमें उसके आंसर्स मिल सकते हैं. बट विद दिस पावर कम्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. साइंटिस्ट्स और साइंस मिरेकल्स क्रिएट कर सकती है, लेकिन हमें मोरालिटी नहीं भूलनी चाहिए. ओके, सो एज वी कंटिन्यू एक्सप्लोरिंग द ओरिजिन ऑफ लाइफ, वी मस्ट ऑल्सो प्रोटेक्ट द वैल्यूज दैट मेक लाइफ मीनिंगफुल. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please do like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. And please do let me know what is your opinion. Are synthetic embryos a miracle of science or a moral reason? Okay. Also, if you want any particular topic of your choice to be explained by me, please do let me know below in the comment section. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye bye. Take care.